All right, the Reds, it is live at 5. And even by our standards, this one is late. I have, as suggested, as told on other shows, I have now got a job. We are now in a completely different studio, as you can see. And so we are sort of rebuilding the plane while still flying it. So this week it's not live. It may well not be live next week as well. We're just finding our feet, working it all out. But the intention is, of course, to keep on going. So hopefully you will keep on watching, and it should be live again very soon. So we shall communicate that accordingly. But back to the Reds. A great, fantastic second half from the Reds did for Bournemouth at the weekend. A narrative-busting 4-0 win is what I've called it. No Salah, no problem. Because there was loads of that in the build-up, wasn't there? It was all about, well, Liverpool haven't got the talisman. Liverpool haven't got the fella who wins them so many games. Liverpool have got a lot of injuries. Liverpool are leaning on a lot of young players. Could this be a bit of a sticky fixture for them? Because obviously Bournemouth have been going well. Dominic Solanke has been in good form, probably the best form of his career.
Yeah.
And so all of those things, did seem to sort of be adding up to the idea that this could be a tricky one for Liverpool. And yet, as it was and as it is, it goes down as being 4-0, dominant Liverpool, 5 points clear at the top of the Prem.
Yeah, unbelievable. In the context of what we were dealing with as you started the show with, I often like to look at stuff through the eyes of, like, what would your opponents be thinking, and what would we, boot on the other foot, what would we be thinking? And Bournemouth away falls into one of those categories, because I think they were, other than us, they were the form team in the league, weren't they? So forget their league position, because that's from a very bad start to the season. Form team in the league, doing well at home. Awful weather conditions.
Yeah, very much.
If you're one of our rivals looking at that, or if that was City going there with the injuries we had, if they had the sort of the comparable injuries, we'd be looking at that, having one eye on it, thinking could drop points here, could maybe not lose, but could draw easily.
We lost there last season.
Got beat there last season with Salah, who missed the pen.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those games, a bit like the week before when everyone started creaming over Man City because they came back to beat Newcastle. Everyone forgetting they were getting beat to do that. I know we've come back a lot this season, but that's one of those performances, second half performances and results that makes our rivals, I think, go fuck. Especially Arsenal, but City. City know they're in a fucking title race with us now. And I was sort of chuckling to myself because my brother-in-law's an Arsenal fan, so I've got an Arsenal connection now, and my father-in-law, they're both Arsenal fans, and I had a little chuckle to myself as Arsenal, thinking, "Welcome to the party, boys! Like, you've never been in one of these with us." So since City will just be like, "Right, back at this again," and we're doing the same thing. Dust your fucking gloves off. We're going toe to toe. Second half of the season, it's going to be one of them. This race is getting faster. And it's interesting that Arsenal won 5-0 the day before, but because they're going to have to come and join this party if they want to have any say in this league now. And
it's interesting how the title odds have shifted again accordingly. This is why I keep sort of bringing them up. I'm not saying like it's a nailed on way of seeing where everyone is, but it's a bit of an indicator. And because I mention it every week, I think everyone who tunes in every week can see what I'm talking about. So now we've gone from, for weeks on end, Arsenal were second favourites. They're out to 7 now for the title. Liverpool are into 5-2. City are still odds on. Fair enough. But we're there. We're top. We're 5 points clear. And I think now as well, I think as a group of fans, like, we obviously won the league, not quite in the circumstances of how we wanted, but we won it. But I think there's still like a level of being scarred by all the nearlies, but not quite. And I think, as time goes on, there's only 17 games to play now in the Premier League this season. more you can see more and more Reds getting on board. I can see the messages coming in, do you know what I mean, on my WhatsApp of various people and I'm doing it, do you know what I mean? I'm going back going, it's on after that. That was fucking boss. That second half was so dominant. No one wants to play this Liverpool side. And I seen a great stat just before we were going to start the show. So this was from Michael Reed over on Twitter. It's gone quite far and wide, this one, so I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, but he says today, as in the day of the match, in Conor Bradley 20, Harvey Elliott 20, Ryan Gravenberch 21, Bobby Clark 18, Owen Beck 21 and Kay Gordon 19. Liverpool had 6 players aged 21 or younger play in the same league match for only the 4th time ever, and the first time since April 1965 versus Wolves. And, that was sort of, away from the sort of reaction to get in, that's a statement second half from Liverpool. The first thing that came to my mind as well was sound. And we've just done all of that without Salah, without Trent, without Robertson, without Szoboszlai, without Endo, without Matip, without Thiago, without Bajcetic, and without Tsimikas. And any other player, any other club would be screaming injury crisis with that.
Yeah.
And I think it's brilliant and testament to Klopp and his team. And they've said it out loud in interviews and stuff. They said that they went into this season almost banning negativity as a group. And, they're obviously hammering their own time. And you can see it. You can see it in them, can't you? Because I think it's easy enough if you're looking at that list to go, bloody hell, shit, it's only a matter of time until it all goes Pete Tong.
Yeah.
Instead, you're looking at it and saying, we're top of the league. We've lost one game in the Premier League this season. No, you let it go. And all of these players are to come back and improve the side and make us even better. One of the shows we recorded earlier for the other late challenge shows this week, on the agenda, you'd put about talking about, and we never got to it, did we? But you'd put on about talking about who do we think are our players of the season. And then we talked about the Trent narrative before and about how parts of his game get highlighted all the time by the media and discussed and parts don't. I think he's one of the players of the season. And is that because I've got my red tinted glasses on? Maybe. But I think he's fucking brilliant. I really do. I watch him play footy when I go to match and I'm just like, what an outstanding player, for that age to have already done what he's done, and he's getting better. And he's the man who pulls the strings for Liverpool, and he's missing. And then he's missing, and McAllister suddenly steps up. McAllister suddenly shows what he's about. McAllister pulls the strings. McAllister makes us all look a bit daft, saying, can't play the 6 him, and then he turns in that performance.
Yeah, and on top of that as well, again, Joe, if we were looking at City and the same thing had happened to them with all the injuries, Conor Bradley comes in at right back and puts in another performance that for his first Premier League start. And I know people the week before when we were talking about him were saying, there are some people saying, you don't want to get carried away. Genuinely, I'm watching that match thinking, and I know Jota deserves man of the match for what he did. And he's clinical and we can talk about him, but I'm there thinking I'd give it to Bradley just on his fucking age and his performance. Some of the stuff he was doing in that game, I'm watching it thinking beyond his years, way beyond his years, how aggressive he was.
Yeah.
The number of times the ball would break and he'd fucking come from nowhere, snapping in.
It was great,
to lead the charge. The counter
press.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Should have scored with that header. And he was laughing himself at that. Had another shot minutes later, could have scored, did much better in. Got an assist.
One of my mates said, he's going to end up scoring before Joe Gomez here.
Yeah, imagine that. And I saw someone put up, obviously to rub fucking salt in the wound, he's got more assists this season than Anthony for United.
Wow.
Which is fucking wild, isn't
it?
Amazing. But when you put all that together, and as you say, McAllister's just phenomenal. And look, we come at it as, me personally, questioning, did we need to buy more players? I thought we should go out and buy someone this month. But Klopp said himself, when you play in a certain way, you make sure you're compact and there's not the gaps aren't too big between all the different sections of the team, McAllister can play that position at a higher level than most people can, because what he brings to that position is something you won't get from most sixers, which is just an unbelievable game intelligence, and passing from there, it's just off the charts. So for us to get to where we got to and then be able to bring those young lads on towards the end and bring some players off and give them a bit of a breather, obviously there's a little question mark over Curtis Jones now. But imagine if when all those injuries started gathering, beginning with Robertson months ago and Thiago and Bajcetic, imagine if you'd said when they come back, which should hopefully be the case, touch wood, we'll be top of the league when those players come back and in every competition. Fucking hell.
I know.
What a season.
Yeah, McAllister, as Dave Lynch tweeted, made 11 passes into the final third, created 4 chances, won 12 out of his 17 ground duels, made 15 recoveries against Bournemouth. And as he said there, all that they talk about is him being unable to play as a number 6. But that seems to have quietened now. He got a little mention, or well, not even a little mention. He got a big mention on Match of the Day too as well. They threw a graphic up saying he was top in terms of creating chances on the pitch. Match rank, as they always say, he was first for that. He was second for touches, second for passes. He was joint first for final third entries. He was first for tackles. He was joint first for the interceptions, and he was first on the pitch for duels won. So there's another player that could be saying, hang on, I should have been man of the match. And what I liked about it as well was, there's been quite a few games this season, hasn't there? And we talked about it on here where you're like, I wish we'd start quicker. I wish we had games over quicker. I wish we put in more of a 90 than a 45, or waiting until subs come on or whatever. For all that, it wasn't great in the first half, and like there wasn't too much in the way of clear-cut chances, etc. Alisson wasn't exactly chocker with things to do either, was he? And like, I kind of think, and you mentioned it before, if we actually factored in everything what we said at the start of the show, so the weather, the fact that they're flying, the fact that they've got an informed forward, all of those things, they're at home, blah 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 blah. They and their fans, I think, will have been thinking, they look at the Liverpool side, they see everyone who's missing and think, got a chance here. So I think you had to expect that they were going to have a bit of a go, that it was going to be a bit of a sort of backs to the wall. But then to turn it on so much in the second half and to just blow them away and for 4-0 to end up flattering them, basically. Something else, that one.
Yeah, and Klopp said as well, he mentioned this in his post-match stuff, that we made our own problems at the start of the game, and we invited pressure on and gave corners and free kick throw-ins away that piled the pressure on. And he also mentioned something we've referenced in the past, that we talk about teams having too many games, but actually we're often dodgier when we've had a bit of a rest.
Yeah.
And that obviously that rest usually kicks in more for you as the weeks go on, because that's when you get the benefit of it. But you can often come unstuck in that first game back because you've got no rhythm. So we got through a sticky patch at the beginning, and we're seeing this a lot this year, which bodes so well, not just for the season but for the future. Like the character in this side and its ability to start slowly, or to figure games out, or to come in at half time and have the coaching staff say, look, these are the places you need to change, for us to tweak things and get better. And it was another example of that. At the same time, I think for balance, we do have to mention that, and I was thinking this before the game, they had issues in their defence with players missing and players being recalled to play in that game. And I think what we've become is ruthless. Like, I think we've got a number of players now who, like, we can ride out tricky spells in games, like in the Arsenal game, and then when it's our turn, and when we can turn the tables, we're clinical. And it's mad, that all the chat around Nunez so far this season and the chances he's missed and all of that, it just detracts from other things. And I mean, everyone's raving now because he's got 10 goals and first player in the league to get 10 goals and 10 assists in all comps. You're like, yeah. Well, guess what? Liverpool fans have been saying he's fucking sound. Don't worry about him. Don't worry about that. But at the same time, that all of that chat takes away from Diogo Jota. And just what an unbelievable footballer he is. And when you've got lads like him who can step in when Salah's not there, Carragher talking after the game on Sky, and he's right to do so. Like, we rightly rave off Salah, and madly, Jota's probably a better finisher than him. Like, his technique is how clinical he is.
Yeah, how ruthless he is.
Just completely
even
ruthless.
the one the
one he fucked up. It sounds funny, doesn't it?
It's great, though, isn't it?
He says he's ruthless, but he mishits that completely.
But you can totally see why, and I've seen a lot of people say it, you can totally see why like people are saying like, Fowler, because like for all the fantastic goals that Fowler scored, he just had that like knack. Like I read something, I think it was over the weekend. I don't even know who'd said it now. Can't think, it's late. But someone was saying about Fowler going near post a lot with finishes, and like that's not what you're meant to do, is it? And like whoever it was saying it said like they asked Fowler about why he was doing it, and he's like, it's closer. It's closer.
It's closer.
It's closer, and the keeper doesn't expect you to do it.
Yeah,
and it's like, and like he always was, wasn't he? Fowler, like clever,
yeah.
and like you say, ruthless. And that's what Jota's got in them as well. They're not always spectacular goals. I mean, they were great finishes, but they're not always spectacular. He scores a lot of little scruffy poacher type ones, but there's all different types of goals as well, and that reminds me of Fowler. I always remember, just to throw a random story in, but a lad I used to live next door to, he was like a keeper in like League of Wales, which is like certainly then, and I presume still now, we're absolutely full of Scousers playing footy. But he'd played youth team footy against Fowler, and he said, I've always been, still I'm like quite a mouthy keeper, like he said, so I'd always be like walking out my goal, like bollocking people and all that. And he said, my team's on the attack and they're like way up the pitch, and he said, and I'm there like shouting at something, and he said, and the ball came to Fowler in his own half and he chipped him. And he said he'd obviously clocked that I was doing that a lot, walking off, bollocking people and all that. And he said, like, he just made me look like an absolute tit. And he said, as I'm like totally embarrassed by the fact that this is bouncing in the back of my net, he said, I just thought, wow, like his football brain there to have noticed that's going on on the regular, and then to even attempt that as a kid as well, by the way. And he's just like, yeah. And like, I think there is a thing there, isn't there? Like with Nunez, he's definitely bringing stuff to the team, don't get me wrong. But even Klopp said himself, talking about him over the weekend, I think he was talking about his transfer record, and he said some people are questioning Nunez. We're happy with him. And then he said, okay, in terms of chances. Like, he referenced it. And I still say it's all right to reference it. I don't know why. Like, we don't have to be this defensive about our players. You can say, he's great, he's contributing, you want to see him on the pitch. I think he's in, if you're naming your best 11, me personally, I'm putting him in it currently, etc. And equally, I'd still say, I think some of his finishes he can work on and he can be better at.
Yeah.
And like, I'm made up that he got 2 goals. And like, his second one was a bit like strange almost how he's gone at it, but clever.
He scored one like that last season.
Yeah. It's like unorthodox, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
like outside of the right foot volley.
Yeah.
But for me, that's what gives me so much like hope and belief in him, is if you just watch those two, if you didn't see anything else of him and just saw those 2 finishes, you'd be like, what a natural goal scorer.
Yeah.
Like, he's got it in him. Do you know what I mean? He's just got to develop the calmness, I think it is. I think that's what it comes down to for top strikers. Just that, like, and it's Jota's got this. Fowler had it, like, in front of goal, just go completely cold, and you just know what you do.
Yeah.
Just take a little. Nunez does the thing which loads of strikers have done in the past, which is just hit it as hard as he can, and that's when he's shit. When he just hits it as hard as he can. When he takes the edge off it, it's like anyone who's ever played golf. Like, when you first have a go playing golf, everyone tries to hit the ball as hard as they can, and that's when you start just taking chunks out the floor. But as soon as someone says to you, the aim isn't to hit the ball as hard as you can, the aim is to get a good connection. Like, that's what it's all about, striking it sweetly. His best finish, and the Newcastle ones aside, those 2 that he struck across goal, but his best finishes other than that I think like he scored at the weekend, the side foot passes into the goal, because they're the ones you can replicate more.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are more reliable. And that's what you see. The one that I've mentioned this before, whether on our podcast or on the Wrap in the past, but I always remember Mark Bosnich talking about Fowler. And he said, he got asked, who's the hardest striker to play against? And he said, Robbie Fowler, because he always hits the corners. No matter how hard he hits it. Like, and I've got images in my head of goalies scrambling across their own goal and they just can't get to it because he's put it right in the corner. And Jota often finishes like that, like in off the post. Do you know what I mean? It's that tight in the corner, it's going in off the post. Goalie doesn't stand a fucking chance. And Nunez will get better. I've got no doubt about it.
I can't help but think, and I haven't got a point to make about it, I'm just going to say it. I can't help but think there's something about Jota also being this like genius at FIFA.
You love that, don't you?
Yeah, but I do, because I play it with me lad, like not all the time, just like when I see him, we'll have a game. And like we always talk about it, like, isn't it mad that he's that good? Do you know what I mean? And also a pro, like a pro at the very top level. And I wonder, is there something in that? Do you know what I mean? Like he's almost just like you say, like just like almost treating it like this is a game, by the way. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
And like it's not like
and everything else is bullshit.
Yeah, but like the cheats, don't you? Like like you always knew, especially years ago. I don't know what games are like now. I don't play as much as I used to, but like there would always be something where you're like, if you shoot in that place on this game, it always goes in.
Banana shot on Microprose Soccer on the Commodore 64 for those old enough.
There you go, yeah. And maybe that's Jota. He's just like, and that's Fowler. Yeah, just put it there, and it always goes in.
Yeah. Just to do, we're not doing loads of stats, but just to emphasise the point earlier about sort of how the game went. First half, expected goals for Bournemouth 0.13, expected goals for Liverpool 0.09. One shot on target in the first half for Bournemouth, 2 on target for Liverpool. Second half, no shots on target for Bournemouth, although they did have 8 attempts and a XG of 1.24. Liverpool's was 1.49 from 10 shots. And like you said before, there's some ruthlessness around that, obviously. So yeah, a great afternoon in general, and builds us up nicely for the Fulham game. Another thing I wanted to do on this show, I'm probably, by the way, in case it comes across, a little less prepared than I ordinarily would be, because I've literally done a full day's work and then come to here to carry on recording. We'll sort all this as time goes on. Hopefully it's still a decent show for you. But yeah, I wanted to run through, I'm looking at the table now, 21 games played, no defeats that were fair. Liverpool being the match of anyone, all of that kind of thing. So here's our, I'll just read them out. Okay, so we've got Liverpool, next Premier League game is Liverpool v Chelsea, end of the month, 31st of Jan. Obviously before that we've got Fulham in the League Cup, Norwich in the FA Cup. So Liverpool v Chelsea, Arsenal v Liverpool, Liverpool v Burnley, Brentford v Liverpool, Liverpool v Luton, Nottingham Forest v Liverpool, Liverpool v Man City on the 9th of March, Everton v Liverpool, Liverpool v Brighton, Liverpool v Sheffield United, Man United v Liverpool, Liverpool v Crystal Palace, Fulham v Liverpool, West Ham v Liverpool, Liverpool v Tottenham, Aston Villa v Liverpool, and the last game of the season in the Premier League is Liverpool v Wolves. Now, are you telling me we can't win all 17?
No.
I think we can win all 17.
It's just funny as you go into that. Like the only game in there that I go, ooh, was Villa away, second to last game of the season. But
and obviously
we could have it wrapped up by then. No, but City at home, I said this last week before the Brighton game, and
I don't feel fearful of read them out, and none of them strike me with fear. Though.
No, but
I'm like, Liverpool can win every one of them matches.
The reality is, and we knew this very early on in the season, we've already got most of our tough away games out the way. So City coming to Anfield doesn't worry me. What City coming to Anfield does, it says to me, and I think this is the way our squad will approach it. This is where we can put them behind us. Like we can beat them. We can make them worry about us. They've struggled defensively all season. Why would we suddenly like back down against them? So I listen to that fixture list and think I've thought it's been on for weeks and weeks, but you said something before, which I think is a really interesting way to look at it. And this, I reckon this is the way the squad will start looking at it now as well. We're counting down the games now, not counting up the games. And when you start doing that, there's a completely different psychology about it, because you're just ticking off one game at a time. Tick off one game at a time and win it. And every time you tick off one of those games and win it, you're a step closer to winning the league. And especially if we're still ahead of City by the time we play them, let's say we're 2 ahead of them by the time we play them, and we win that to go 5 ahead, which is possible, looking at the fixtures before then. I mean, obviously, Arsenal away is a big one, obviously. And if they just click back into gear, scoring-wise, let's see who's back for us by then. But let's say we go into that game and we beat City to stay ahead of them. It's mad that they're still favourites at that point, if that's the case.
Well, that's just based on history, and it's based on where people are putting their money as well, of course.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, they've got the game in hand. You know, the table as we sit here talking, Liverpool played 21, 48 points, top of the league. City in second played 20, 43. We've also got now a +4 goal difference on them. Obviously, they've got that game in hand to play, and obviously they're capable at any point of putting a ton of goals past any side, really. We've seen that before. But nevertheless, in the here and now, you can't not view that as a positive as well. Because when it's been cigarette paper between the two sides at times in the past, then that's almost like another point, isn't it?
100%.
So it's like, not only have you got to make up 5 points, you've got to make up that goal difference as well. Because you'll all know in your dressing room, at your gaff, that could count in the end.
Yeah.
And we know what Guardiola and them as a whole, their fan base, their players, we know what they think they'll be thinking about coming to Anfield. They'll be rocking up going, piece of piss. They're rocking up going, fucking hate it here. Our record here is appalling.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
How often do they win at Anfield?
Exactly. So, it's on. It's fucking on. And I'm not just doing it for a show. It's on. It is absolutely on. What else do we need to talk about before we go? We touched on Tsimikas, 10 and 10, the first Premier League player to register at least 10 goals and 10 assists. Tsimikas, didn't I just say?
Didn't work all day, lad.
Bloody hell. I've just seen Tsimikas at the bottom of a list, that's why. Sorry, not Tsimikas, of course. It'd be boss if he was getting 10 goals and 10 assists.
Imagine if our second choice left back, 10 and 10, yeah.
Flying, lad. Yeah. No, Nunez, of course, I meant, and I have been in work all day, and it is now, what are we on? Just to give you an indication, it's 9:20 at night now, as we record. So yeah, Nunez, I apologise. Of getting 10 and 10, which, shuts up some of the doubters. Bradley, boss again, we mentioned that. Jota, ruthless. McAllister, quality. Done me 17 fixtures and I'm saying we can win the lot and we can be champions of England for the 20th time. I'll say a little thing I noticed, that this isn't like, red hot analysis and it's not going to go viral on Twitter anytime soon. But did you notice when Jota does the miss kick and then follows up by putting it in the back of the net, he got like ironic cheers for the miss kick from their fans and then immediately put it in. And I thought, did you not learn from when you did that to Nunez in the League Cup? Do you remember? Because his first touch took him wide.
They showed it before the game and I was laughing at myself.
And
I was laughing to myself.
He blams it in the back of the net.
Yeah,
I remember Suarez doing that at Norwich. He cocked something up, he buzzed off him, and then 2 seconds later it was in the back of their net.
It's mad that anyone does that to top players. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially where Jota was. The Nunez run, I'll let them away a little bit with, because from that position for Nunez to pick up that ball and score was ridiculous. But Jota's miss kick, he's still in the fucking box, lads. Calm down.
I know. I guess we should talk about Fulham because that's the next game for Liverpool. League Cup final, second leg. How do you see that now on the back of what we've just done to Bournemouth?
Look, I think that's trickier than maybe a lot of people think. And I thought that even after the first leg, a 2-1 win in your home game. And I know everyone says avoid defeat and you're through. But I think avoiding defeat is no way to go into a game, is it? And that's not how we go into games. And if Curtis Jones is out, we have potentially got a bit of an issue there now. Like effectively no bench, other than young lads, and they've done really well. But you don't really want to be throwing in young lads into your midfield for more than a few minutes at the end of a game that's already won. So Fulham will fancy themselves. I think they'll be going all out for this, because think about what that means to them. The thing that
100%, they'll class themselves as still being in it.
Of course.
And they'll feel a bit hard done to again in a game against Liverpool with the way it went at Anfield, and they played well enough, didn't they? And then we did what we've been doing to start.
They've scored plenty of goals against us, haven't they, this season? Yeah. So they'll fancy themselves to score against us. I think that the thing that gives me a lot of hope and encouragement is the stuff I was saying about us playing Bournemouth last week when I was talking about it. We're at our best when teams fancy they can beat us.
Yeah.
And the reality is we are still a side that's unbelievable in transition. Our speed of attack is phenomenal. And I think that stat came up a couple of weeks ago. Like, I think we've got the fastest attack in the league from meters per second or whatever mad stat it was that I've never seen before. But we are fucking brilliant at that. And the reality is there's going to be a big atmosphere. They're going to come at us. And we need to have another one of those performances where we withstand their pressure and fucking hit them. And there's nothing to say we can't do that again.
And then Chelsea or Middlesbrough, should we get to the final?
Yeah, and look, I actually think either of, and fucking hell, touching wood and not wanting to tempt fate, Fulham away is probably a harder game than either of those in the final.
I was thinking not, to be honest.
Chelsea is shit at the end of the day, aren't they? Like, they're still... I keep expecting, because it's Pochettino, I keep expecting to see them like turn it all around and him figure it all out and them start this run.
And we all keep saying, don't we, how can you have all that talent and all that? You must find a way. He's not, is he? Do you know what I mean?
They're not, and they've clearly got problems, haven't they? Like, there's clearly deeper problems there, and he's clearly struggling with it, even being a great coach. And all those issues we've heard about for ages now, like having so many players is an issue, creates a problem for you. And he's questioned their character over the past few weeks, like, making comments like, you've got to be able to match your commitments and character to your ability. Well, I mean, that's the opposite of us, isn't it? Like, our character, I can't, if we get to the final, if we get past Fulham, I do not see us losing that final. I think to me, it'll feel a bit like the Madrid final against Spurs. We'll just be going, we win this. We just make sure we win it. And by then, hopefully, again, touch wood, we'll have players back, really important players back.
Well, Salah this afternoon, there's been a bit of an update as we record again, that he's likely to be ruled out, it looks like, of Fulham game, Norwich in the FA Cup, Chelsea and Arsenal. I think we'd be panicking about that a bit more if we hadn't just seen what we'd seen against Bournemouth as well, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we were all saying, the likes of Jota and will need to step up and Nunez, etc. But now that you've actually seen that happen in the flesh, it feels a lot better, doesn't it? And again, it just feels like, okay, if we get to the other side of those games without him and we've got the results we want, wow, what will that say about us? Like, the other thing I wanted to mention as well before we go is that obviously we've called this show all the way along live at 5. It's very unlikely that it's going to be at 5 o'clock, whatever happens from here on in. And so some of my mates hilariously have been trying to think of alternative names. Stu right through him, pricks at 6.
Yeah, you'd probably let me guess them. Pricks at 6, I'd have probably figured that out. Yeah. Nice one, Stu.
Yeah, cheers for that, Stu. But yeah, open to suggestions on that one.
Anything along those lines.
And as I say, the plan in a couple of weeks or so is that we return to it being live, because we do enjoy interacting with you, seeing your comments, having a bit of a laugh with all of that. Obviously, we can't do that this time around. It's first time in the studio today. So, they're figuring it out, and so are we. But as I say, in a couple of weeks or so, we should be back to the live idea. And as soon as we know what time that's going to be and all the rest of it, we'll let you know. But nice though to see today, mate, that quite a few people, of messages and stuff saying, well, where is it?
Yeah,
where are you?
Yeah.
We're used to you being late, but not this late. So sorry if you didn't know that we wouldn't be doing it live this time around this week. And we will get better at the admin, at the communication and all the rest of it. And do try and join us here once we do know where we're going to be. It should be, we think, don't we? Like, I think we're aiming for maybe 7 being the live one. Is that what we were saying?
6 or 7.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
So look out for it on a Monday, live Liverpool show. You in the comments, us talking about whatever's going on in Liverpool world. And we'll be back to the normal format. But this week we recorded in advance. Hope you've still enjoyed it. Let us know what you think. Like I say, it's not the plan going forward that it will be recorded. I'm going to go now and go to bed and have a big sleep.
It's a long day that for you, isn't it?
It's a very long day, hopefully next time around I won't confuse a striker with a deputy left back. That's been Live at 5. Gareth Roberts, Paul Cope. See you again.